Good evening. President Reagan has made his historic speech to both Houses of Parliament and backs British action in the Falklands.
In the South Atlantic, young men are fighting for Britain. And yes, voices have been raised protesting their sacrifice for lumps of rock and earth so far away. But those young men aren't fighting for mere real estate. They fight for a cause, for the belief that armed aggression must not be allowed to succeed, and the people must participate in the decisions of government.
The other headlines: Israel's drive into Lebanon goes on. Her troops are just outside Beirut. And another British serviceman has been killed on the Falklands. Now more on these stories with subtitles. President Reagan has told Parliament that Britain is fighting for a cause in the Falklands. In an address from the Royal Gallery, Mr. Reagan said that Britain's young men were defending the belief that armed aggression must not be allowed to succeed. Mr. Reagan also referred in his speech to the fighting in the Middle East and called on Israel to withdraw her forces from southern Lebanon. The speech marked the first time an American president has spoken to members of the Houses of Commons and Lords together. A helicopter carrying the Queen Mother had to land shortly after taking off from Windsor Castle this morning. Her spokesman said the helicopter lost power, but it was only a precautionary, not an emergency landing. The Queen Mother was unhurt and apparently unshaken. She was able to continue with her engagements. Heavy fighting continues throughout much of southern Lebanon and along the coastal strip to Beirut. The Israelis say their fighter aircraft have shot down 6 Syrian planes. The Syrians maintain that they shot down an Israeli Skyhawk, but haven't confirmed their own losses. The port city of Tyre is reported to be in flames. The Israelis claim to have seized it, but the PLO say their forces are fighting on. A member of the Special Boat Section has died in an incident on East Falkland. He's been named as Acting Sergeant Ian Hunt, a Royal Marine from Poole in Dorset. The Ministry of Defence have given no details of the incident last Wednesday in which he was killed. With British forces still surrounding the Falklands capital Port Stanley, there have been no reports of fresh fighting. The health service unions have been holding their third 24-hour national strike. They're asking for a 12% pay rise and have been offered 6%. In the Commons, the Social Services Secretary Norman Fowler said some emergency services were not maintained. Other unions gave their support. About 2/3 of Yorkshire miners came out in sympathy. Newsnight at 10:45 will be reporting on President Reagan's day in London and on his 2 speeches, one in Westminster and another late tonight after dinner at Windsor Castle. In addition, Donald McCormack will be talking to Edward Heath, particularly about the President's comments on the military conflicts in the Middle East and the Falklands. And we'll have the latest reports from Lebanon, Israel and Buenos Aires about the fighting and the chances of ceasefires. That's Newsnight at 11:15. The next news on BBC1 will be at 9 o'clock. And now a look at the weather.